Tryna say I'm only in the me. Got a code with my dogs, can get in between. I can give them life, no more energy. Amen.
Welcome in, everybody. We're going to be talking about the number 2 and number 7 matchup in the Western Conference. The play-in champion Golden State Warriors going against the young and upcoming Houston Rockets as the second seed. I don't think either of us thought that this had a chance of being the 2-7 matchup coming into the season, but here we are. And JJ, this probably has the most grit of any series that we have in the first round. So, let's get to it. What are you most excited to see in terms of matchup wise in this series?
Man, Thompson versus Steph Curry. That's got to be the key one there. Steph has faced a lot of good primary ball handler defenders, and he's constantly just torched them. I think maybe Steph is probably going to struggle in the first game, but I think they're going to make some adjustments. Kerr is always going to make some adjustments, so they'll probably free him up the next game. But, this whole team is really gritty. I don't think either team's going to score like a ton of points. It's probably going to be like low hundreds, maybe even like high 90s kind of game. I think it's going to be 6 or 7 games. But what are you seeing? What's your favorite matchup?
My favorite matchup, I want to see what Dillon Brooks' role is in this series. I think everybody knows what we saw in Memphis, where he wanted to antagonize everybody. Draymond Green is going to one-up him in any sort of, if they go head-to-head on who can antagonize the other more, Draymond Green is going to win that matchup. But we've also, Dillon Brooks hasn't done it as much since he left Memphis. I could see him doing it here because he's not going to be guarding Steph, but if he pisses off Steph, if he pisses off Jimmy Butler, and it turns into more of a mental battle than it will be just about basketball, I think that's where there's this whole other layer of playoff basketball that we don't get to see in the regular season. And you almost don't want to do that if you're Dillon Brooks, because nobody else is better at playoff basketball experience-wise than the Golden State Warriors and Draymond Green and Stephen Curry. But I don't think anybody's going to stop him if he tries to. I think that's just in his blood.
Yeah. What do you think is going to be the matchup to attack for like going against the Houston defense? What matchup will you try to attack?
I think
it's a tough one with their size.
Yeah.
That's my problem for
that
Golden
last
State.
game, obviously, Curry had, 3 points?
Yeah, 1 of 10 from the field. You can't expect 1 of 10, but he's not going to have an efficient game. I'll say he's not going to have any efficient games probably in this series.
So they blitzed the hell out of him in that game. I don't think they have as much success doing it in this one because the refs are going to swallow their whistle a little bit more, so Draymond Green is probably going to be a little bit more illegal with his screens. I'll use that word.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to be able to get Amin Thompson caught up a little bit more. So then you have Steph going into the Sengun and or Steven Adams. I think that's going to, if it's a high pick and roll and that's happening, it's wraps. Like, he's going to dust by him every time. And then it's going to be the same way Boston was in that one final series where at some point you can't play at the level. You have to go back and drop. And if you drop, whether it's 30 feet or 40 feet, Curry's going to pull up and take it. So if the refs are calling those moving screens, it's going to make life very difficult. But if they aren't, I don't think that same game plan is going to work from the Houston defense side in terms of stopping Curry. And if Curry gets going, everybody's going.
But at the same time, they're going to be gritty as well and keep fouling just like they do. So I think at the end of the day, it's going to balance out, even though if Draymond does have his quote-unquote illegal screens, they're going to foul on the other end as well. So it'll balance out.
I think this is the worst matchup Houston could have asked for in the first round, just in terms of one of their biggest issues coming into the playoffs everybody had was their inexperience. Jalen Green has never been here. Dillon Brooks was here with another team, obviously a very different role now. Amin Thompson's never been here. Sengun's never been in this role. So you wanted to see them get their legs underneath them a little bit against an easier matchup before hopefully getting into the second round and hitting their stride. They don't get that opportunity. They are thrown against probably the most experienced team in the playoffs. So it'll be tough for them. I do think people are writing them off a little too easily because, like we're saying, they have as much grit as anybody does. So if we're saying it's going to 7 games, I'd say the most experienced team is going to win. But if they pull out a game at Golden State and suddenly they're ahead 3-2 going into that 6th game, I wouldn't be surprised if it gets closed out in 6 just by like factors outside of just basketball. If that makes sense.
Yeah. And if you look at it, like, yeah, Houston doesn't have a whole lot of experience, but at the same time, this Golden State team is relying heavily on Steph
Yeah.
and Jimmy Butler having great games at the same time. Can that constantly happen for an entire series?
Which, by the way, I'm not a big believer in this whole playoff Jimmy Butler thing coming to life here. I believed it when he was in Miami. I think everybody saw that Clippers game right before the playoffs and then the play-on game against the Grizzlies. I'm not buying the Clippers game, one game. I'll give it to them, but they were in playoff type battles for weeks before that. So I'm not giving him the nod if it didn't happen the weeks before that. The Grizzlies game, they were putting Zach Edey on him. I mean, no shit, he was going to score a bunch of points and play well.
Yeah.
So like, I'm
Anyone
not
who
giving
matches
that
up
credit.
against them,
Yeah,
they're gonna score.
yeah, you can't give that credit to playoff Jimmy Butler. I'm giving that credit to the Memphis Grizzlies coach for giving him 20 points on a silver platter, like he didn't have to do anything. Like I could rant about that, but that game has already happened. All I'm trying to say is this whole playoff Jimmy thing could happen for as a basketball fan. Hope it happens. I'm not bought in yet.
Yeah, I'm
So there
not
is
bought
that.
in yet either.
And that's
But
the
I
other
think at
issue.
the same time, he doesn't have to do it for an entire game. I think with Steph Curry, I think as long as he does it maybe for like a half and then Steph Curry gets the other half, I think maybe it could work. But I think most of the time they're both going to have great games every single game.
Yeah.
And that's going to be tough against one of the top defenses in the league. You know, they're going to play hard, they're going to hustle. So it's going to be tough. Where does that other offense come from Golden State? Is it going to have to be pods?
I was just about to bring up Kuminga because he's a pretty hot topic right now.
Yeah.
He was a coach's decision DNP for the last 2 games. Very, very big games.
I think they need him this series. I was going to touch on it later. I didn't know he's going to bring it up now, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, we're talking about other offense. It was on the tip of
Yeah.
my tongue.
No, you're good.
If I'm Kuminga coming into the situation, obviously I want to play in a high stakes game like this, but I almost don't want to play for Steve Kerr because this is not the first time he's done this. And if this is me, that was the last straw. I'm kind of checked out. I'm done.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't blame him if that was the case.
But
So
I don't know if he has enough player development to just like go out and say, I'm not going to play and then go to another team. And then because I feel like other
no, it
teams are
wouldn't
going to
be
look
up
at
to
that when
him.
they try to sign him. Yeah.
But I'm just saying,
Like he
I
can go out
almost
there and
wouldn't
play
want
and
to
then
go
be
to that
asked.
guy in a game
Yeah.
in games like these.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough for that to be what you stake your success of the series on. I
Yeah.
think you could probably run post, and when they run the Adam Sengun lineups, you could put post in there. Gui Santos will play in spots, maybe. I'm just trying to think of who would be coming off the bench. Moody provides a decent boost. Buddy Hield, I think he's gonna. I wouldn't be surprised if they use Buddy Hield as they use Curry as a distraction. They get 4 people on one side of the court, and then all of a sudden Buddy Hield's wide open, getting a down screen on the other wing.
Yeah.
I don't know if they have the ability to match up from an athleticism standpoint with Houston. Because even if they bring in Kuminga, the only way that makes sense is if you're really giving an actual role to Kuminga. Playing him 12 minutes and having him with 10% usage, it's not going to be worth it at that point.
Mm-mm.
It's not going to do anything. And you've already shown your card that you don't really trust him to give him more than that. So if you do, now you're getting out of your comfort zone, and that's what Houston wants you to do.
Yeah. But I think they do need his dribble penetration here to open things up for others.
Is that not what they got Jimmy for, though? Is that not why they traded for him?
But Jimmy more so likes to post up. He likes to ISO. That's the problem.
Yeah. Who guards Kuminga if he's in the game?
It's probably
Assuming he's not in there. That's the other thing.
Based off
I don't think they put him
rotations, it's probably going to be Eason.
Yeah. I don't think they put him in Butler minutes.
Mm-mm.
I think that was part of the reason.
That's horrible floor spacing.
Yeah. I think they realized whatever the lineup when Jimmy and Kuminga are on the floor together, it doesn't work. And when you're in scenarios like this where you're playing Jimmy 40 minutes, 36 minutes, there's only so much left for Kuminga to get in there. I think that's part of the issue. So then it's going to be a trade-off that Kerr's, if he does play him, it's not going to be pretty in my opinion.
Yeah.
I said before the Houston Memphis series that if Golden State wins, I think they would beat Houston, but if Memphis wins, I think Houston would advance. I still do think Golden State wins it solely off of experience, but they're also, I need to check it to see if the odds move, but they opened at like minus 210 in favor of Golden State. That's too much. That was way too much. I think
Yeah.
at that number, you almost have to take the plus money on Houston.
I'm on the Houston side right now
To
in
win
7.
or just on the value? Houston in 7?
No, Houston in 7. That's
Interesting.
my pick right now.
I
But I
honestly,
could go either way.
yeah, I'm not putting my money on it yet. Maybe by the end of this video, we will. But I really could be talked into it either way.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we can get a little Houston plus 1.5 in there. I think I could bite on that. Do you
All
think
right.
Steven Adams? That's the other thing I want to talk about. Can Steven Adams play in this game or not really?
He can. I think, especially if they go too big, they did have some success in I think it was the last matchup. Somebody was talking about it, but there was like +5 on the court together. It was a small stint, but it does show like something positive there that they can work with. Especially if they want to get some double screens in, get Jalen Green going. I don't think Jalen Green has to have a great series, but if he does have a great series, this series is going to be over quickly.
I kind of think he does. I think this could very well be Jalen Green's coming out party. I think he got the label, rightfully so, his first few years of being like the streaky shooter that nobody really wants to see on the court in a must-win game. But this year he's actually been pretty reliable, pretty solid. I could see him having a very good series here. Who matches up with him defensively? Pods?
I believe it is Pods. Let me check real quick because I have the tab open. So Jalen Green, primary defender. So it's a lot of switching. So in that last game when Jimmy Butler played, so in April, Steph Curry, 15.7 possessions, Jimmy Butler, 12.2, Gary Payton, 10.6. So it's a lot of switching.
Okay. That's the other thing. I don't think you can switch. Because, like, we're talking about who's the single guy that's going to defend Green. If you switch on anybody else, I'm not entirely confident that they defend him 1v1 either. And it's not like he's a pick and roll guy where you're like, oh, he'll just come off a screen and run into Draymond Green. He's probably getting it, not necessarily in motion, but, like, he's getting past the ball and then he's jab, step, or pump fake and making a move. And if he is in pick and roll, now you got to worry about Sengun. It's not just Jalen Green. And I don't know how Draymond Green necessarily deals with that because I actually remember now. I took Sengun's under earlier in the season against the Warriors. They did a very good job at spreading 4 around the court, and Sengun was pinning Draymond Green really deep into the paint. So when he caught it in the post up, he was basically already under the rim.
Yeah.
So there's going to be, I don't think they're going to let that happen again. I think they saw it. They're like, oh shit, we can't let that happen again. There's going to be an adjustment. Question is, what is that adjustment going to be? And if who it's going to help, because it's either going to help Sengun or it's going to help Jalen Green. I don't think there's going to be a trade-off where Golden State just figures it out because there's a pretty big size advantage for Sengun there.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. I'm talking myself into Houston more and more because I kind of dismissed Jalen Green. I was like, oh, he's probably going to get 20 points. We'll move on. But like now that I'm thinking about it more and more, like, okay, this is actually not a good matchup for the Warriors.
Yeah, I just think he just needs to have a decent series. I don't think he has to do anything spectacular, but if he does, I just don't see the Warriors having a chance at that point.
And by the way, as much as they did handle the Grizzlies, they didn't handle them very well on the offensive glass. The Grizzlies are 4th in offensive rebound percentage the last 15 games. Oh, this is preseason. Hold on. But even without the numbers, I'm just looking at it on my other screen here. Edey punished them on the offensive glass a decent bit just because there was such a big size advantage. Houston's going to do that even more. I mean, Houston lives on the offensive glass. They're not actually a great offense. They're just so good on the offensive glass that they clean up a lot of their issues anyways.
Yeah.
So,
And I
I'm
think
kind
that's
of
where the two big lineup can come in when they really need some boards. That's really going to help.
my only issue with the two big lineup is if whoever's Steven Adams' man is setting the screen for Curry. Steven Adams is not going to come up and deny that shot.
No. But I
So
think
how do
that's
they
why you
rotate
got
out
the
of that?
screen. I think you just have to trust your screen navigators there.
We'll see. It'll be a good game. A
Yeah.
good series, I should say. Anything else we need to touch on before we get to the picks?
I think that's it.
All right, let's do it. And for our first pick, JJ talked me into it. Not going to lie. Rockets plus 1.5, minus 120. I mean, for me, the series, before we started this video, the series as a whole was a toss-up. JJ is very confident in the Rockets. And after talking about it with him, I think I'm there too. I really like how the Rockets match up in this one. So getting a basically pick 'em odds to go at least 6 games basically. I like it. And with that, we're going to be taking what you can only find on FanDuel for a quarter unit as well. The Rockets to win game 1 and win the series. This is about plus 220. Every one of these games is going to be more or less a pick 'em, assuming nothing drastic changes. And so as long as the Rockets win game 1, which I think they're plus 140 to do so, they're going to have the nod going forward. And they're going to be at home game 1. They're going to be well rested. They're going to have way more time to prepare. I'm fine trusting Ime Udoka as a coach to set up a good game plan, at least for game 1. And then we'll see what happens from there. But JJ, this is where everybody's trusting you on this one. You got anything else you want to add
Trusting
for the
me.
people?
Hey, man. Trust the defense. Defense wins championships, right?
There
You
we
got to trust
go.
the Houston Rockets defense here.
Yeah, we're not trusting the fake deep wig Draymond Green. Evan
Yeah.
Mobley's winning it for a reason. So go ahead and lock those in. Make sure you guys like and subscribe if you haven't already. Half unit on their to win, half unit on them to get plus 1.5 spread, and then quarter unit on them to win game 1 and win the series at plus 220. Make sure you guys go check out all our other videos breaking down all the other series. We're going to make a lot of money this first round. So good luck, everybody. We'll see you guys on the next video.